Hello everybody. Welcome to our today's session. Today we are going to start the second part of the third chapter, Applied History. In our first part we have studied what is the applied history. In that we have seen there are applied history is also called as public history, and in the public history we have seen there are number of misgiving like what is the practical value of the history is just useful for the students those have to do their higher studies in this subject, and otherwise history is useful for the historians. Again, another misgiving is that what is the economical productive of this field. So like that questions raise for the history. So public history helps to overcome such misgiving and makes history meaningful in everyday life, connecting people into history. So we have seen that in the abroad there are number of universities where courses related to public history are offered. We have taken the example of Sushti Institute of the Art, Design and Technology in Bangalore, Karnataka. There number of courses, special departments are there for the public history, where children can do the research in the of the public history. So again we have seen how the applied history and research in various fields. We have seen the philosophy, we have seen science, technology, commerce and trade, we have commerce and industry. That 4 points we have seen. Today we will start the fifth point, management studies. So let's start that. In order to understand various factors involved in the chain of production, such as means of production. So first what he has said that first you have to understand various factors. The factors which is involved in the chain of production. So first is given that means of the production. So means of what things will come in the means of the production. So here investments is require money. Again you need the raw material to produce any product. You require the raw material. We require again machinery for our industries. So these all will come in the means of the production. Human resources means human power. In the industry human power is required. All will work together according to their ability, according to their capacity. So management, clerical, supervisor, laborer, so like that human resources also require. So you should have understanding about that resources also. And processes of the production means what? A product which we are producing, that product will go through various processes, as well as the chain of market and sales management, etc. So market, if your product is ready in your factory or industry, then you require the market to sell that product. So you have to understand about the market system also. Again sales management means what? Means our product which is ready, so that will go to the market. Which type of market? It is going direct to the consumer, or it will go first to the wholesale market, retail. So like that knowledge about this sales management we require. For the sales management we require the transport facility, so everything will come in that. So a person who is going to do management studies, so he should have the knowledge regarding these all the field. It is essential to understand the psychological character of people working at various levels in the chain of production and marketing for healthy management. So here it is said that a person who is handling the management, he should have knowledge, understanding about the psychological character of the people those are working with him. So if he could know the psychology of the laborers, workers, whatever employees are there, then it will be good for the healthy management. So in order to achieve it, in order to achieve it means what? To achieve the healthy management. Understanding of social and economic institutions that support the industrial and commerce process is important. Here it is said that there should be understanding of the social and economical institutions. So social institutions like family, again government, again hospitals, school also educational institution, that will also include in the social institution. So temple, mosque, so like that social institutions and economic institutions, it will come as the bank, and where you will get the loan. So finance office, so and again registry office, so these all will include in the economic institution. So a person should have the knowledge about it also. Suppose my industry is there, then I have to sell my product, so my industry should be close to the city where market is available easily, people are available, social institutions are available there, my product will sell easily. Again I will get the help also easily from the economic institutions. So such kind of information will helpful for the commercial and industrial purpose. Knowledge of history in this regard makes the management at various level easier. So such type of knowledge about the means of production, knowledge about the processes of the product, knowledge about the psychology of the people, human resources, markets, selling, so these everything, it is very important for the management. So now next part, sixth point, that is arts, that we will study. It is important to understand the development of the various art forms with the help of their style of expression and their foundation in the form of intellectual, emotional, cultural traditions. So here it is said arts is also very important. Number of things will include in the arts: dance, painting, drawing, singing, music. So this will include in the art. So to understand it, the development of the various art form is required. So you should know the development of this such type of art form. Again we will get the information regarding the development of the art form with the help of their style of expression. Style of expression is very important in dancing, in sculpture, in drawing, so in painting. So this is very important, and that is the foundation of the intellectual tradition. Intellectual tradition means what? Means intellectual, related to the intelligence. Again economical tradition, sorry, emotional tradition and cultural tradition. So what is the emotional tradition of that particular art, when it has started, and how the development, how the changes took place with the time in that art. So related to the emotion, beginning, how that emotions were expressed, now as the changing, as per the changing time, what changes came in that emotions. So that is also important. And cultural tradition means behind the art form, cultural tradition is also very important, that also you have to understand. The key to expressions in any art form. So what is important? Expression in any art form. Emotional temperament of the artist. Emotional temperament of the artist means the character or personality. So emotional character of that artist and the development history of the respective art form. So see, two things you have to remember. First is emotional temperament of the artist, means the what is the personality of that artist, what, how that artist is representing, expressing the art form. Again next is the development history of that respective art form. The art form, how it has developed, that history also we should understand, and that we have to understand with the help of our cultural history. So I hope you understood this also. Now we will move toward the next point, that is humanities. Humanities include disciplines like history, archaeology, sociology, anthropology, political science, economics, etc. So here it is said in the humanities we have to study the different fields like history. What is the history of history? What is the history of archaeology? Archaeology, we know that word many times we heard. It is the study of the human history and prehistory through the excavation of the sites. We know that Harappan sites, Mohenjo-daro sites, their excavation process took place, and that is helpful for the to study the human history and prehistory. So that is called archaeology. Sociology, as we know, that's related to the our society social issues. Anthropology also, it is also related to the scientific study of human, their behavior and societies in the past and the present, that is anthropology. Political science, economics, etc., these things we have to study it first. To understand the history of the origin and the development of these disciplines is an essential part of their learning. So here it is said that to understand the history of the origin means these subjects, these fields, from where it has its origin, means history is history, archaeology is history, sociology is history. What is that? When it has started, when that subject came to known for the people. So what is anthropology? When anthropology began, that time how it was, now what things are included in that. Political science, when it originated, that time how it was, now how, what changes came in the political science. Economics, same. So you have to understand the origin and the development of these disciplines. It is very important part of the learning. All disciplines are supposed to have their origin in philosophy. So philosophy is the mother of that all the disciplines. So they are originated from this philosophy. Now what is the philosophy? Philosophy is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. So see here, ancient people all over the world tried to speculate in order to understand the relationship between the universe and the human existence. So our Asian people, they always try to find out the relationship, what is the how the universe and the human being, their existence, from where it has originated. So they want to reveal the mystery. So they are thinking, deep thinking about this subject to find out the relationship between the universe and the human existence. It gave rise to various mythological stories. So due to these things, it give rise to the mythological story, means when our universe was originated, how the human being they came on the earth. So it resulted into the various mythological stories. That mythological stories are related to the origin of this world, the universal order, human life, gods and goddesses, rituals, their philosophical explanation, and etc. So these all the related to these things, mythological stories were narrated, and that is through that things it is try to reveal the mystery of the universe. So roots of philosophical pondering are to be found in these mythological stories. So in the mythological stories, what is at the root? So that is philosophical pondering is at that root. So various disciplines under humanities have theoretical foundations based on philosophical theories. So you will find that at the base, these all the disciplines like sociology, anthropology, archaeology, history. So that all the disciplines we have theoretical foundation, and that is what is the base of this theoretical foundation, that is the philosophical theory. It is the base. Only historical knowledge can help us in understanding these development stages. So historical knowledge about these all the disciplines it is making us um, uh, aware about the development stages. So see children, if you want to know about all these things, then it is important to know the history. So only history can give us the understanding of these development stages. So now we will move towards the another point, that is 3.3, applied history and our present. People often ask about the practical value of history. What is the practical value of the history? Why we should study? What is the importance of the history? So the answer to the question about the nature of applied history answers this question as well. So here it is said all such type of questions answer is the nature of applied history. Now what is the nature of applied history? The nature of applied history is that our present, it is because of our past. Suppose our present is today very successful, then it is because of our hard work which we have done in our past. Because of that hard work, today our present is good. So with the help of our past and our present, we can give new shape to our future. We can do some planning regarding our future. So that is the nature of history. The visible and invisible relics of past exist in the present. We nurture some. So here is also the same thing. The visible and the invisible relics of the past events which have already done in our past, that exist in our present. Because of that things, our present is depend, and with the help of our past and present, we can give a new shape to our future. We nurture some kind of curiosity, attraction towards them. So we have curiosity, attraction to know our past. What is our past? How our ancestors were there, what they were doing. So such kind of curiosity arouse in our mind. We wish to know more about their history, because they represent the creative thoughts and traditions of our ancestors. And people often we are excited, we are curious to know the more information about the history of our ancestors, because they have done the creative work, their traditions. So these things we want to know. It is our heritage. It helps in building our identity. So it is our heritage means what? As we are having our strong heritage, so as we are human being, suppose especially we are Indians, we are having our strong heritage, and that is linking with us our origin. Without our history, without knowing information about our ancestors, our life become meaningless. So to know these things, that is very essential and important. Hence it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for future, for our benefit as well as for benefit of future generation. So here it is said that it is the history of our heritage. So as we are living in Maharashtra, I am giving the very simple example. So otherwise so first I will give the example of Maharashtra, then we will take information about our India. As we are living in our Maharashtra, so we know that our Maharashtra is having a rich history of Shivaji Maharaj, how Shivaji Maharaj conquered the various forts with his less army. Shivaji Maharaj conquered these forts, and very brave work he has done. So such kind of history that we have to preserve. Such history means what? That forts, coins, manuscripts, whatever available, that documents or monuments we have to conserve and preserve for our future generation, and that will be very beneficial for our future generation. Otherwise our future generation will not get such kind of pride regarding their origin, regarding their heritage, regarding their ancestors, etc. So applied history is concerned with preservation and conservation of our heritage. Applied history is concerned to conserve these heritage and make it accessible to the people, accessible to show them. So heritage management creates opportunity of employment. In our heritage management, there are number of opportunities, job opportunities for the people, for especially for the history students. Those are having interest in the history, they will get a good job opportunity in the historical management. In brief, applied history can be described as understanding of our present with the help of the history and finding right direction for the benefit of our future. So see, in the conclusion it is said the same. So what said, applied history can be described to understand of our present with the help of the history, means with the help of our past we have to understand our present, and with the help of the past and the present we have to give the right direction for the benefit of our future. So I hope you understood this third point, that is applied history and our present. Now children, we have to study the next point, 3.4, that is management of cultural and natural heritage. As we have seen that applied history is concerned with the heritage and conservation and preservation of the heritage management. So here we are going to study the cultural and natural heritage. Now see, what is the cultural heritage? It is in the form of human creation. It is of two types, tangible and intangible. So what is the tangible and what is the intangible heritage, that we will study. First is given tangible cultural heritage. It means the things which we can touch, that is tangible. This type of cultural heritage include ancient sites, building, artifacts, manuscripts, sculpture, painting, etc. These all things we can touch with our hands. So these are called tangible cultural heritage. So you children, you know that this here ancient sites. Ancient sites means what? Monuments, various monuments will include in that, various buildings also, artifacts, manuscripts. We have Veda, Upanishad, Puran. So these will include in the manuscript, sculpture and paintings. So these are the tangible cultural heritage. Intangible cultural heritage, this type cultural heritage include the following things. So intangible means we have to just experience, we cannot touch the intangible cultural heritage. What is that? Oral traditions and their language. So oral tradition, we are getting the information orally from one generation to another, that will include in the oral traditions. So number of mythological stories, number of concepts that orally pass from one generation to another generation. Here also will come that earlier time ashram system was there, where the children were learning various mantra, shlok. So that also include in the oral tradition. And their languages, which language? Sanskrit language, Pali language, etc. Traditional knowledge. Traditional knowledge means what? Our knowledge which we get from our that related to the religion, related to the tradition. That knowledge, it is passed from one generation to the another generation. It will also include in the intangible cultural heritage. Social custom and rituals of celebrating festivals. Our country is very colorful country. There are number of people related to various caste, race, religion. They are living together. So we are having unity in diversity. So number of rituals are there, and according to that rituals, our celebration of festival is taking place. styles of performing arts. So performing arts means in that drama theater will come, dance forms will come. So that's they are having different styles of that performing of the arts. So certain tradition skills. So in the dance skills are there, painting, sculpture, in various art form skills are required, and that traditional skills will include in intangible cultural sites. Communities groups who represent such traditions, customs and skills, these all things will include in the intangible cultural heritage. Now we will study the natural heritage. What is the natural heritage? Cultural heritage we have seen two types: tangible cultural heritage and intangible cultural heritage. Now we are going to start B part, that is natural heritage. The concept of natural heritage gives importance to the thought of biodiversity. It includes the following things. So what are the things included in the cultural heritage? See, fauna, flora, ecology and geomorphic characteristics, which is crucial for sustaining the flora and fauna of particular region. So see children, here in the natural heritage we have to study different biodiversities. It will include flora, fauna and ecological system also. It is very important. Geomorphic characteristics about that flora and fauna. To know about the flora and fauna, so these things are very important. That all will include in our natural heritage. It is essential for the benefit of our future generation to preserve our heritage. We are having number of animals and flowers, ecological system, so we have to conserve it. There are number of animals which is going to verge of extinct. Again rare flowers also find at rare places, so we have to preserve it for our heritage. So UNESCO, the global organization, has announced some directives with the object of promoting the cultural and natural heritage. UNESCO that global organization announced some directives. Directives means some objectives. So that objectives will promote to the cultural and natural heritage sites. So with that help of the UNESCO's directive principle, it will be helpful to preserve and conserve these heritage sites. On the basis of those directives, a list of sites and traditions are declared as the World Heritage. So UNESCO will select on the basis of this directive list, means which that particular thing will come in which site. It will come in cultural heritage site or it will come in natural heritage sites. So UNESCO will decide that sites on the basis of that directives, and then World Heritage Sites list will be prepared by UNESCO. The list of UNESCO's World Natural Heritage now include Western Ghats, the Khas Plateau in the district Satara is also part of Western Ghat. So earlier Western Ghat was not included in the heritage site, but now it is also included in the heritage sites. And Khas Plateau, that flower valley, so that is also included in the heritage sites by the UNESCO. That Khas Plateau is in our Satara district, so that is also the part of the Western Ghats. So in this way, today we will stop here, and further part we will study in the third session. Thank you very much.